So, Assalamu alaikum everyone, and welcome to another Quran study. Today we're gonna read from Surah 7, verse 76. In the name of God, most gracious, most merciful, I seek refuge to God from sin and rejected. Verse 76. The arrogant one said, "It is believing what you believe in." Subsequently, they slaughtered the camel, rebelled against their Lord's command, and said, "O Saleh, bring the rule you threatened us with, if you are really a messenger." Consequently, the quick animated them, leaving them dead in their homes. So, in those verses, um, God is talking about the story of Saleh, the messenger, with his people. And as we see here, some arrogant leaders doubted the message of Saleh as a messenger of God and questioned the common people who believed in him. So those common people responded that they believed in Saleh's message, while the arrogant leaders refused to believe and even killed the camel. So they killed the camel defying God's command, because as we know, God, commanded to not kill it. But they did and challenged Saleh to bring, the punishment he had warned them of. So, as a consequences of their disbelief and rebellion, a severe earthquake struck, destroying them and leaving them dead in their homes. 79. He turned away from them, saying, "O my people, I have delivered my Lord's message to you, and I advised you, but you do not like any advisors." So here in this verse, we see here that the role of the messenger, the messengers of God in general, we see the challenges that they may face, in delivering their messages, as well as their patience and dedication in the face of rejection, as well as people's responsibility, to either heed the message or refuse it. So, what we can learn from this story, there's many lessons. I can say that the disbelief, the arrogance of accepting the divine guidance, as well as the defiance of God's command, leads to serious consequences, as we saw. Also, we learn that, God's justice, always prevails, and the wrongdoers, sorry.
Will ultimately face the consequences of their actions. Also, another important point is that um, like we have to respect, God's creation and not harming the signs of God in the natural world. Um, okay, so I'm gonna continue. Verse 80. Lot, homosexuality condemned. Lot said to his people, "You commit such an abomination. No one in the world has done it before. You practice sex with men instead of the women. Indeed, you are a transgressing people." His people responded by saying, "Evict them from your town. They are people who wish to be pure." Consequently, we saved him and his family, but not his wife. She was with the doomed. We showered them with a certain shower, not the consequences for the guilty. So in these verses, we see that there is another story of the messenger Lot. He confronted his people for committing a grave sin, which is homosexuality, which was an abomination. So he warned them and explained everything to them that this is not um, righteous and they should refrain from this. This is against God's commandments. So, but they didn't listen, and God saved Lot and his family, but punished the wrongdoers among them with a divine shower, which is a volcano, and that makes them an example of the consequences of their actions. So we see also that Lot's wife suffered the same consequences as she supported their wickedness. And also, this story teaches us about uh, the importance of following God's guidance and His commandments, and to know that the punishment, of God is really severe. Okay, so I'm gonna continue. Um, verse 85, Shuaib, cheating, dishonesty, condemned. To Madian we sent their brother Shuaib. He said, O my people, worship God. You have no other God beside him. Proof has come to you from your Lord. You should give full weight and full measure when you treat. Do not cheat the people out of their rights. Do not corrupt the earth after it has been set straight. This is better for you if you are believers. Refrain from blocking every path, seeking to repel those who believe from the path of God, and do not make it crooked. Remember that you used to be few, and He multiplied your number. Recall the consequences for the wicked. So here we see in these verses the story of Shuaib, the messenger of God. So he was sent to the people of Midian, and it's like the other messenger, he asked them to worship God alone and do not commit idolatry, right? So he reminds them to be fair in their business dealings, also not to cheat others and not to corrupt the land. So then tribe advises them to be just and not obstruct the path of those who believe in God. And that shows that they were trying hard to, make things difficult for the believers, so they can leave their belief or change it, you know. So also he reminds them that they were once a few, but were blessed with increasing numbers by God's leave. But they are not grateful about it. Um, we see also that he warned them, the consequences for their wrongdoing, like the previous community before them. 87. Now that some of you have believed in what I was sent with, and some have disbelieved, wait until God issues his judgment between us. He is the best judge. So here in this verse, Shuaib acknowledges that some people have believed in his message, while others have not. So he advises them to be patient and wait for God to pass judgment, because God is the ultimate and just judge. Okay. Um, 88. The arrogant leaders among his people said, we will evict you, O Shu'aib, together with those who believed with you, from our town, unless you revert to our religion. He said, are you going to force us? We would be blaspheming against God if we reverted to your religion after God has saved us from it. How could we revert back to it against the will of God our Lord? Our Lord's knowledge encompasses all things. We have put our trust in God. Our Lord, grant us a decisive victory over our people. You are the best supporter. So, as we see here in these verses, the arrogant leaders of Shu'aib's people said, we will evict you, together with those who believed with you, from our town, unless you revert to our religion. He said, are you going to force us? We would be blaspheming against God if we reverted back to it against the will of God
Don't hear
our
anything.
Lord.
Yeah, I cannot hear either. Yeah, I got one. She's joining again. She'll be joining again shortly. Got one.
Assalamu alaikum. Can you hear me now?
Yeah,
Okay, sorry for that.
no
Um,
problem. Started reading a verse. It.
88?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna repeat it, inshallah. Okay. Sorry for that. 88. The arrogant leaders among his people said, we will evict you, O Shu'aib, together with those who believed with you, from our town, unless you revert to our religion. He said, are you going to force us? We would be blaspheming against God if we reverted to your religion after God has saved us from it. How could we revert back to it against the will of God our Lord? Our Lord's knowledge encompasses all things. We have put our trust in God. Our Lord, grant us a decisive victory over our people. You are the best supporter. So, as we see here in these verses, the arrogant leaders of Shuaib's people threatened to evict him and the believers unless he abandons his faith and return to their religion. But Shuaib firmly refuses, saying it will be a form of blasphemy against God to revert to their religion after God had saved them from it. Um, and that shows their trust in God and seeking His support for a decisive victory over those who oppose them. And that teaches us as a submitters to stay steadfast and trusting in God, even in the face of threats and pressure, and not abandon our belief, God willing. Verse 90. The disbelieving leaders among his people said, if you follow Shuaib, you will be losers. The quick annihilated them, leaving them dead in their homes. Those who rejected Shuaib vanished as if they never existed. Those who rejected Shuaib were the losers. He turns away from them, saying, O my people, I have delivered to you the messages of my Lord, and I have advised you. How can I grieve over disbelieving people? So here, um, these verses describe the fate of the disbelieving leaders who warned the people against following tribe. They were struck by a severe quake as they perished in their homes. So, so the rejection of Shuaib's message lead to them, you know, to their ultimate loss. And as we see here, Shuaib delivered his Lord's messages and he advised them, but when he see that there is no result of like there is nothing um, um, just rejection, he turns away from them, no longer grieved for their disbelief. Okay, 94. Blessings in disguise. Whenever we sent a prophet to any community, we afflicted its people with adversity and hardship that they may implore. Then we substitute peace and prosperity in place of that hardship. But alas, they turned heedless and said, it was our parents who experienced that hardship before prosperity. Consequently, we punished them suddenly when they least expected. So God here informs us that whenever God sends some prophet to any community, they often face difficulties and trials as a test, of their faith and to make them turn to God for help. But when God changed these difficulties, to prosperity, many people they become forgetful and attributed their past difficulties to their ancestors. So as a result, we see that God's punishment came upon them due to their ingratitude and heedlessness when they least expected it. Okay, and 96. Most people make the wrong choice. Had the people of those communities believed and turned righteous, we would have showered them with blessings from the heaven and the earth. Since they decided to disbelieve, we punished them for what they earned. Did the people of the present communities guarantee that our retribution will not come to them in the night as they sleep? Did the people of today's communities guarantee that our retribution will not come to them in the daytime while they play? Have they take God's plans for granted? None takes God's plans for granted except the losers. Does it ever occur to those who inherit the earth after previous generation that if we will, we can punish them for their sins and seal their hearts, causing them to turn deaf? So, as it mentioned on the subtitle, most people make the wrong choice. And that's true because if the people of the past community made the right choice, believed, and acted righteously, God will have showered them with blessings, but they choose to disbelieve and earn punishment for their deeds. It's a God's system. And also the verses warn those who inherit the land from previous generation that they should be aware that God can punish them for their sins, you know, um, not taking God's plan for granted. Only the misguided do so. So that teaches us to not underestimate, God's power and just justice. Um, I'm gonna continue. We narrate to you the history of those communities. Their messengers went to them with clear proofs, but they were not to believe in what they had rejected before. God thus seals the hearts of the disbelievers. We found that most of them discard, discard their covenant. We found most of them wicked. Um, so those two verses, inform us that many people often disregard the covenant and behave wickedly, even though we know that this life is the last chance um, for people to redeem themselves. But sadly, many people choose to remain rebellious and engage in the wrongdoing. Um, I forgot to read the footnote. The footnote says, this life is our last chance to redeem ourselves, but most people are proven to be stubbornly rebellious and evil. See the introduction. Okay, so what we should learn from these stories is that we should repeat, no, not like to be aware to not repeat the same mistakes, that they made in the past. And we know that this life is a test, and all we have is the freedom of choosing between believing or disbelieving. Okay, and continue. Moses. After those messengers, we sent Moses with our signs to Pharaoh and his people, but they transgressed, not the consequences for the wicked. Moses said, O Pharaoh, I am a messenger from the Lord of the universe. It is incumbent upon me that I do not say about God except the truth. I come to you with a sign from your Lord. Let the children of Israel go. He said, if you have a sign, then produce it if you are truthful. He threw down his staff, and it turned into a tremendous serpent. He looked out his hand, and it was white to the beholders. The leaders among Pharaoh's people said, this is no more than a clever magician. He wants to take you out of your land. What do you recommend? They said, respite him and his brother and sent summoners to every city. So God here is talking about the story of Moses with Pharaoh. And as we know, Moses is a messenger sent to Pharaoh and his people, and he represents himself as a messenger from the Lord of the universe and requests to release the children of Israel from the persecution they were suffering from Pharaoh. Okay, so Pharaoh here it challenges Moses to provide a sign, and Moses performs two miraculous signs. his staff turns into a serpent and his hand becomes radiant white. So it was clear, miracle, but despite these clear signs, Pharaoh's leaders um, dismiss Moses as a magician and discuss how to deal with him. So what they do, they decided to give him and his brother some time, and send messengers to gather people from various cities. Um, so we will see the rest of the story next study, inshallah, because I have to stop here. But overall, these stories that we study today serves as historical lessons for us, um, because it contains, moral teachings about honesty, justice, good deeds, also discouraging the disbelief and wrongdoing. Um, it also illustrates the consequences of rejecting divine guidance and shows the power of God, and never underestimate it. So we should be careful to not repeat the same mistakes that, um, because we can have the same consequences since God's system is unchangeable. And it's also a reminder for us uh, of the importance of the free will and the choices that people can make in their lives. Also, the role of the messenger is to deliver the message and the warnings, and it's the people responsibility to take heed, as God says in Surah 7 6. We will certainly question those who receive the message, and we will question the messengers. Okay, so I think I finished, and thank you for listening. If you have any comments or questions, thank you.
Sure.
MashaAllah, sister. Very, very good.
Thank you.
MashaAllah. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you.
Sure. So I wanted to make a comment about these verses, especially the verse that we read about the people of Lot. When they were reminded of what they were doing was wrong, their immediate response was to say, "Evict these people from your town. They're people who wish to be pure." Like, so instead of turning righteous and heeding the commandments, their ultimate response was to evict them, right? And it kind of reminded me of a similar situation like we're witnessing now with a lot of people protesting, about the innocent people being killed in this conflict in Palestine. So recently, I found out that, when this conflict happened, and obviously a lot of, people protested against like the unfairness of Israel not following the rules and not allowing people to have water, electricity, and things like that. These are just international laws that everybody needs to respect when in any kind of conflict. You never break those rules, and so instead of like acknowledging that, like one of the parties here in the U.S. is now trying to actually pass a bill, a law to actually deport those students who have participated in these protests. like they actually tried to get a list of all of those students, even, especially like at least from Harvard. They got a list of all the students, and they were like circulating vans around in their around the campus, with the names of every student that they had seen in in that protest, showing their names, and they were saying that, yeah, I mean, and these people should not be given any jobs and all this stuff, but then also that they're trying to pass a bill to deport all of these students. So just an example of, I mean, human being, and how, like, wickedness, the kind of reaction that people get is like, they're like, we don't want these people, they're not welcome. And obviously, and they're trying to use laws that apply to terrorism, saying that these students are participating in promoting terrorism, which is not exactly accurate, right? So just to give context on how these human beings are. I mean, it's the same right now. For example, for even homosexuality, right? We see homosexuality being so prevalent and in our societies right now, especially here in the Western countries, that if you try to say anything against it, you immediately feel hostility. And like, you're not trying to be hostile, of course. I mean, you're trying to be morally pure and righteous and advocate the same to others. But immediately, I mean, you experience hostility. And if you're supposed I mean, if you're expressing this at work, or at school and things like that, I mean, you can expect some kind of deliberate action taken against you to silence you, you know or to remove you. I mean, people could get fired for this, if they find out that you say something that, quote unquote, offends a homosexual or a homosexual community, you know and you're not allowed to say anything. you know but that's not the case for a lot of other things, right? People are able to say what they want. But when it comes to evil things like that, we have this in place. And same goes for cheating. I mean, at least you're able to talk about cheating. We know it's a good thing. But the bad thing is that doesn't stop anybody from cheating, because whoever can cheat will can will cheat, and they're not ashamed. you know they're it's I mean, it used to be, I think, uh, not a long time ago, where if you were found just lying a little bit or cheating a little bit in this country, like, it was considered really embarrassing, and people would just like give up and resign from their positions or whatever, just out of that. you know but uh, at least right now, it's the things have changed. There are people that are openly cheating, and people are getting caught and being tried in courts, and they're just completely, it seems like, they're completely defiant and shameless. Like, I mean, I hate to give more examples of politics, but, like, we recently, there has been a person in the government, a senator, who completely lied on his resume and became part of the government, and refuses to even resign. And I mean, he's being forced by other people. Like, they found out that that he cheated, he lied, everything in his resume, everything that he said he did, the universities that he said he went to, the religion that he said he associated with, everything was a lie. But then he still refuses to resign, right? And just people being shameless about all the fraud and all the dishonesty and cheating that they've committed. But I think, as submitters, we need to be a moral society that promotes the highest moral characters. And especially, like, when it comes to uh, all of these vices, including homosexuality. The verse that the messenger of the covenant has highlighted, that says, "Beware of retribution that will not be limited to the evildoers among you." It talks about a community that tolerates these things, community that doesn't condemn these things, that they could also become part of the retribution for not advocating righteousness and forbidding evil, right? So obviously, when it comes to things like that, I mean, we're not supposed to just like condemn these people that you're going to hell and stuff like that, but we're supposed to try to help them to try to talk them out of it, right? Like the messenger of the covenant, when he talked about homosexuality, he said to try to talk these people out of it. Now, to try to talk these people out of it, even will quote unquote offend these people, obviously, right? But at least our job, with our intentions, have to be just to help these people, to let them know that this is a sinful act, and it's not approved by God. And unfortunately, we see that most of these people who are part of this, I mean, many of them obviously don't believe in religion, right? But the people who do believe in religion uh, also wrongfully attribute it to God. Like, they say that, well, I cannot help it because I was born this way, or God made me this way, and things like that, and attribute it to God. Like, recently, not so long ago, I mean, not so recently, but I think maybe like 2 years ago, the CEO of Apple, Tim Cook, who's also homosexual, he said that it was a blessing from God. These were his words. He said it was a blessing from God, one of the greatest blessings, or just the blessing of God, that he was gay. And so, like, so they say things like that, and especially all these things that they have been saying over the years, like, oh, God made us this way, or this is in our genes, and this and that. All of those things have been scientifically proven to be wrong. Scientifically, there have been studies that are done that disproves each and every one of those myths that these people have propagated. For example, they did studies on identical twins, and they found out that there were twins that were genetically identical, and one of them was turned out to choose homosexuality, and the other one didn't. So it proves that it's not in your genes, and things like that. And but still, people continue to ignore. We had a person who identified himself as a submitter and was unfortunately doing these things, and then justifying it with all of these things. And in fact, I had a very detailed discussion with this person and arguments, where I proved to him with all of these studies that I showed him that these were all wrong, and he still continued to blame God for it, until eventually we kicked him out. So, but these are blessings from God. I mean, good examples from us for us to learn from, that God has set these precedents of communities, and He has preserved their ruins. Like, you can still go and see the remnants of the retribution and the community and what happened there, and not just Lot, but also these other communities of Hud and others. And Moses, obviously, we read about today. I mean, of course, we're going to read more, inshallah. But all of these, God has not only preserved their lessons in the Quran, but also in the real world. We can go and see these places to know that it's not like tales, as people say. I mean, that's it.
Mashallah, yeah, really good points. It's kind of like you said, we can invite them, uh, and like the messenger said, talk them out of it. I was doing this at a job a year and a half ago, and it was kind of tricky, the way to go about it, because you want to be nice and you want to make maybe encourage them, but at the same time, it's sometimes I was asking myself, like, can you really be helped or not? And then you gotta, there's such a
Yeah.
objection towards it. Like, even if you're
Then
in,
they start, then they start hitting on you.
yeah, like even if you're doing it in the most nicest way, they completely, and it just proves furthermore, um, that these people they really need help, and that the fact that they get so violent or outraged over it, they deep down they know they're bad, and they're doing bad stuff,
Mhm.
and that's why it offends them so much, and then there's the fact that where they're trying to push it on people,
Mhm.
because it's one thing to keep it private, but kind of like you were saying, it's with the cheating, it's just become more of a commonplace, like to promote it, and because it used to be something like I'm sure around the time of the messenger, like it was extremely shameful, like disgusting, embarrassing, like you don't
Mhm.
want anybody, but now it's like out in the open, like they're really trying to normalize it, and mashallah, it's good that
Mhm.
reminders that you said we need to openly condemn this stuff, or if we're talking to somebody, be do it in a nice possible way, talk them out of it, but we should not be silent, about these matters, even if it offends people, because maybe it'll be given to us as a credit, if
Mhm.
if we experience any lashback.
Inshallah. Yeah, submission WS, is the website, like I used to have this thing. They have these programs from Google that if you're a nonprofit organization that is registered by the IRS, you get these monthly grants in ads money. So Google Ads was giving me free credits worth $10,000 every month to promote Submission WS, right? And until and I
Mashallah.
had it, mashallah, yeah, so I had that for a while until imagine until like this homosexuality stuff and the marriages issues were becoming very heated, and they were allowing the marriages to happen and all this stuff, like starting with Ireland and other countries. So during this time, I published the article on the website saying homosexuality condemned, and based on that, they removed me from the program. Can you imagine?
Wow.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Mashallah, that's good
and
that you put it out there, though. Praise be to
yeah,
God.
so yeah, and then I mean now, and it's not just now. It's not even that. I mean, firstly, it was especially at the time of the messenger, as you said. I mean, it was just the homosexuality. I mean, you're either homosexual or heterosexual. Obviously, and now then you have so many other things, right? And then you have non-binary and all this stuff where people think that they're men and women think they're men and men think they're women, and then you have all these pronouns. And I mean, people, they're trying to these groups, of these LGBT groups, like they have these big funded organizations that they have developed over the years with a lot of funding and everything, and they're legally trying to push the limits, trying to inject that into the students' curriculum, and like
Exactly.
young people, Satan's trying to
Exactly.
work on them from a very young age. So Satan's agents are like actively trying to brainwash little children into
Right.
normalizing these things and desensitizing them, you know, and like so much so that like in school, like they have made policies where if a child decides that he wants to be a woman, they don't even have to tell the parents, you know, and they're allowed to keep it secret in many places, many countries, including many parts of the US. I think recently in California, they're trying to remove that and making sure that the children, parents are informed. But in many other places, they're not even informing the parents and allowing the children to have like gender affirming psychotherapy, even to where they have allowed them to go to these therapists that reaffirm those wrong ideas in their brains. You know
Wow.
and
Yeah,
promote it. Yeah, so much
I've seen
evil.
it
Yeah.
is. Yeah, it's right, and like you said, it's good that we put the message out there, Um,
Mhm.
damn it. Excuse me. But yeah, I've even like in my hometown, I've seen a rise in homeschooling, and I guess in other parts of the country, I think
Mhm.
that just because of the public school system and some of the nonsense they're allowing. But mashallah, like you said, if we do our part, that's what we'll be responsible for. Whether they take heed or not is up to them.
Yeah, and I heard like in Canada also, like they're going very strong about these things, and there are people that are there are people that are protesting, if I'm not mistaken, against these things. They're penalizing them financially, and like putting account freezes and things like that. Like really trying, being very aggressive in trying to silence protesters and things like that in those areas.
Or if you protest against their homosexual
Yeah,
agenda, they're wow,
yeah, they're freezing their bank accounts and things like that.
man, yeah, I didn't for the job for protest.
Hmm. Military dead. So Dr. Phil. Okay, you have to swipe. Oh my god, why would anyone go and Dr. Phil and do that? Would you? Anyways, okay. Yeah, I mean that becomes a responsibility of the parents, especially too when they're sending these young children to school. Like they start doing all these, teaching them all these things at such a young age. Like I remember my daughter, when she used to go there, like we had talked to her a lot in the past about this. But she would go and she would just start telling the teachers, and the teachers would even get upset sometimes, for just her being so open about these things. But I think the point I'm trying to send across is that I think that the parents, I guess it's the parents' responsibility, and especially in these situations, to educate. Because and the reason why I say that is because like, okay, so that's the one side. On the one side, there are people that are pushing these ideas onto the society, right? But they're not just pushing them onto your children, they're pushing them on the society in general as a whole, right? And then you have these people that are going out on the streets and doing protests and stuff like that. Like, so I came across one of the submitters. He sent me a video of like this woman in headscarf, in Canada, and she's screaming like with like really violent kind of screaming in the top of her lungs, and she's like, our children should not be taught that. I mean, she's right, but she's just very kind of coming across really like violent, this the same stereotype. And he's saying, mashallah, praise be to God, look at this woman and we should join them So they're saying we should join these people in doing that, and but when I see that, I think the other part of it is that, when it comes to extreme libertarianism, is that, we can say what is right and what is wrong, but at the same time, like, we're not even in a position to force other people. Like, they're trying to force these groups and institutions to, like, be almost like intolerant, like, don't allow this, don't allow that, and so I think that the responsibility of the parents in that situation and us is that, we make a stand as to just in the same way, like, those people are promoting their truths, their values, or their sinister behavior. You can also go and advocate your part of the story, saying that this is not natural, and in a peaceful way, without telling those people that they can't do anything, right? I mean, if you, like, for example, there will be parents and there will be people who would want that for their children, or other children, right? Or the society in general, right? But we can't impose our things on other people as well, right? Like, it's one thing to advocate something, but then it's another thing to go on the streets and just like, shut down things and be uh, I mean, kind of cause disturbances. I mean, we don't want to do that either, right? We just want to promote the truth, and at the same time, we want to have a society where we have extreme libertarianism, right? Where if someone wants to, do that, they should be allowed to do that. But if someone doesn't, they shouldn't be forced at the same time, right? So, like, nobody should force your child to, like, because in some situations, kids are being forced, other kids are being forced, like, for example, they're being forced to participate in certain activities and stuff like that, right? And for those areas, like, I mean, you can just say, like, hey, I don't want my child to be part of this, rather than going on the streets and protesting and says nobody should have that for anybody else. I mean, that's another way, right? So we should be careful, like, we also don't want to infringe upon other people's whatever they want to do. Like, we don't want to be like countries like Iran and Saudi Arabia, and just impose our religion on everybody else. So it should still be in a way that if other people want to practice whatever they want, if other people want their kids to learn these things, that they are free to do so. But our responsibility is to teach our children and to make the stand for what is the truth. So I guess that we have to kind of go with a balanced approach and not follow, like, a lot of these traditional Muslims and corrupted people, and extremists.
Yeah, if someone wants to go to hell, and they insist on it, we shouldn't
Mhm.
we should let them. I even saw something on it was crazy. It almost um I don't think it was staged or nothing, but it was I think, I don't know, one of these news channels is interviewing this transgender or whatever, some woman, and then she was trying to explain that why 2 plus 2 is not 4, and if you say it's anything, if you say it's 4, then it's you're racist or something like that. Like, it's really crazy how far these people have taken it. And then, but you look at the comments, are like, just like most people, or vast majority. I mean, they kind of see through the nonsense, but it's interesting to see, like, just how stubbornly rebellious, I think it was mentioned earlier in the study, they are. Like, just on that little example, it's like, okay, they have a truth, and they just because they don't like the truth, they try to fight it with falsehood, but they can't. Because like I even told somebody one time, and I said because they didn't believe in God, and I said, well, the fact that I said, okay, let's just say for the sake of argument, in your mind, God isn't real. I said, uh, you acknowledge nature, and biology is real. I said, well, I said if you were, you and whoever else would last, if you're the last group of people on the earth, the earth would go extinct. I was kind of making a joke at them, and I said, what does that
Yeah.
tell you? I said, the it's unnatural, it's even nature will has all kind of evidence around you, and they didn't really have anything to say, because they can't. I guess they, what I mean, they, they can't argue with the truth, even if they try.
Yeah. Anyone else? Any comments or questions? All right. I guess there are no other comments or questions. God willing, we can conclude our study. Thank you, Houda, for leading the study, and thank you, Brother Salami, for streaming. God willing, and thank you everyone else for participating. God willing, our next English Quran study would be on Saturday at 9:30 a.m. Pacific time. God bless you all. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Uh,